Hi, welcome back to the Distressed Princess. Today I'm starting my Halloween crafting series. And remember, if you're liking what you're seeing in this video, then give it a big thumbs up and that will help my channel out so much. The Halloween decorations that Dreams Are Made Of resides at Grandin Road. If you check out their website, they have so many gorgeous options. However, their prices are pretty steep for the average DIYer. So I have set out to make my own Grandin Road dupes. I'm going to start out with the easiest ones first, and the easiest is this Boo, and it is adorable, but look at that price tag. To make this, you'll need some letters. I found these at Michael's. They were only a couple dollars a piece, and they had different sizes. I liked this size because it's flat on the bottom, so they'll stand up. You'll also need some felt spider webs, also from Michael's, and was half off. Then just go by the picture on the Grandin Road site to see where the placement of the spider webs should be and cut them down accordingly. And hot glue them in place. I got mine done and realized something didn't look quite right about the bee, and I realized I had the spider web on upside down, so I just peeled it off and redid it. And that's the dupe. It took about maybe $7 to make this, so I was really happy. Next up is a simple white jack-o'-lantern. Now theirs is made of resin. It's about a medium size and it does light up. However, that price tag is not within my budget. You might be able to find these at multiple places, but at the Family Dollar store they had this medium-sized jack-o'-lantern that does light up for only $5. And so the simplest thing, of course, is just to paint the whole thing white. I did 2 coats with the Folk Art white chalk paint. I even did the insides of the little cutouts. And if you wanted to get really super fancy, you could add the baking soda for texture if you wanted. But I liked it just enough like this, and that was a really easy dupe. Well, here I am loving the gold touches with Halloween, which I didn't think I ever would, but look how charming this is. But it does not have a very charming price tag. There are only a few simple ingredients you'll need to make your own. You'll start out with a set of books. I chose to do 3 books, 1 large, 1 medium, 1 small, but you could do, I think Grandin Road actually had 4 or 5 books in their stack, so however many that you like. And I want to point out that once I took these jacket covers off of these books, the colors of them were beautiful. I had a green, a black, and a maroon, which it surprised me. I didn't know what colors I was getting because I'm painting them. But look how pretty those are together. If you weren't going to do anything, they make a pretty book stack. Before we begin painting the books, first we need to rough them up a little bit. So around the edges where the pages lie, that's too new, too pristine. We need to do something with them. So I'm going to show you 2 ways to make these pages look like they're from older books. The first way is to trim around all the edges of the pages. This is time consuming, but it is the lesser messy way of the 2 ways that I'm going to show you. Also, this is the preferred method if you have sinus problems, you'll understand why when I show you the next method, but this is the more time-consuming but less messy way. The second method is to use a utility knife to scrape along the edges of the pages, which roughs them up, it tears them, and you can even cut into the book like you see I'm doing here. But the downfall to this is it creates a lot of dust, like really fine dust, and it does get everywhere, including up your nose. So you pick the method that works better for you, or if you don't even want to rough up your book ends, that's your choice. But I think I like this method better for me just because it's faster. Now, if you look carefully on the Grandin Road website, the picture of this book stack, you'll see that it has a leather binding and like leather fronts. So I'm going to use, of course, the Dollar Tree faux leather. I'm going to cut pieces that will just go on the edges of the books, just like so. And I used hot glue to glue them down. I used some hemp string to use for some little embellishments on the binding of the books. I just hot glued those down. I wish I had been looking at the Grandin Road picture to see exactly where their embellishments were, but unfortunately I used my camera that has the picture on it for my filming device, so I couldn't do both things at once. So I just did from memory, but you can look exactly on the picture and see where to put yours. I did the leather bindings on all 3 of the books with the embellishments, but on the smallest book, which will be the top one in my stack, I'm also going to cut a piece of the leather to go over the whole top. And I hot glued it in place. Then stack the books however you like them stacked and glue them all together. Next, you'll need a large spider. Use the spider of your choice. This one happened to come from Goodwill, but I know they have them at Dollar Tree. Just use a large spider that fits the top of your book stack, and he is going to get painted along with the books. And I used the cheap Dollar General gold spray paint. After it dried and I got it back inside, I saw where some of the leather pieces were popping up and some of the little embellishments were coming back off. So I just hot glued them back down in place. But don't fuss over everything too much because remember, this is a Halloween decoration and these books are meant to look rugged anyway. And then the last thing is to hot glue the spider in place. And I love this book stack for my witchy kitchen. I think that these branchy black trees like this are very elegant for Halloween and I love them, but I don't love this high price tag. Now before I get into how I made mine, you should know that at Five Below, they're supposed to have these trees for $4. That would be the easiest route to go. Then all you'd have to do is throw some lights on it and maybe some moss in the planter and be done. If I had my hands on one of those, that's definitely how I would do it. But I didn't have one, so this is how I made mine. I had this canister that I bought from a thrift store for only $4, And I thought if I took the lid off and painted the canister part black, then I would have a good planter. I'm going to use a painting technique to make this canister turn into an old and worn looking pottery planter pot. I don't know. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to put a layer of Mod Podge on first, and not real thick, not real thin, just normal layer all around the canister where I'm going to apply my black paint. Then I put my hair dryer on its cold setting. That's important, cold, not hot with Mod Podge, because Mod Podge will bubble up and peel off. So I put it on the cold setting and I dried it for a little bit. I didn't want it completely dry, just almost all the way dry. Then I paint over that Mod Podge with my black chalk paint. And then I dried up the chalk paint still on the cold setting on the hairdryer. This is not an immediate effect like the crackle effect, so it takes a little bit of time, but at the end of this DIY, you'll see what it has done. Then you take your floral foam and start hot gluing it to the bottom of your planter. And fill it up as close to the top as you can get it. You can use anything to fill in the gaps where there isn't any floral foam, like plastic bags or newspaper or what have you, but what I had on hand was brown craft paper, so that's what I crumpled up and used. By this point, your planter should look something like this. For the branches on my tree, I'm using this wreath that came from the Family Dollar store, and it was only $5. I have to say, I love this as a wreath, and I would love to get some more to use in my home, but this one's going to get cut up and made into a tree. I used wire cutters to cut it, and it cut just fine. And bonus, this wreath has bats. Now the one in Grandin Road did not have bats. You can remove those if you want, but I went ahead and left them because I liked them. I cut 3 branches to make the tree, and then I pushed each one down into the floral foam. Once I got them pushed down into the floral foam, then I kind of sprawled them out. What's the word? Bushed them out? Sprawled them out. I made them look branchier. Then I added some of this dead looking moss to cover the floral foam and the brown paper, and this came from Dollar Tree. Here and there, a bat would fall off of the tree, so I would just hot glue it back in place. The Grandin Road planter had some spiders on it, but it looked like the spiders were actually made into the ceramic of the planter, or whatever the planter is made out of. I didn't really have a way that I could do that effectively, so I just used some spiders from the Dollar Tree that already had sticky backs, but I knew they weren't going to really stick, so I hot glued those to the edge of the planter. Then last but not least, let's light her up. And so I already had these copper fairy lights with the battery pack, which will be hidden behind the planter, and I just strung them all up, weaving them in and out of the branches. And if I can keep Yachty from trying to eat the bats off of this tree, it's going to be a wonderful addition to my Halloween decorations this year. Oh, and pay attention to the planter with the painting technique that's not quite a crackle, but still made it look old and worn. Next up is a gold tone skeleton. They call it gunmetal, but he looks kind of gold to me. And I do love a good skeleton, and he is mighty handsome, but I would never pay this amount for him because he is not really even that big. Now I'm just going to throw this out there because I happened to find him at my Goodwill store, and I don't know where he originally came from, but he is already painted up to look a lot like that Grandin Road skeleton. So I think that he would work great if you could find one just like him. But Since I don't know really where he came from, I'm gonna make one out of a Dollar Tree skeleton, and here's how. First of all, if your skeleton is meant to hang, or if you're using this Dollar Tree one, cut that loop off the top of his head because he's not gonna be hanging around. Next, paint him up with some black paint, and I used chalk paint. I think it sticks to the skeleton a lot better than acrylic. One coat is just fine, and don't worry if some of the original color is still showing through. The next step is to brush on some metallic gold paint on top of the black, but not completely covering the black. You want some of that black to show through. The Grandin Road skeleton had hinged arms and legs, so he was posable. You can make him sit or do whatever. And if you want yours to be hinged and posable, I highly recommend doing this painting technique on a skeleton that's already hinged, because that's going to be the easiest, less frustrating method. But if you want to save yourself a few bucks and go with the Dollar Tree one, just pull his legs and arms off, and then you're going to snip off whatever little stubby stub there is left there and hot glue them back into place, posed however you want them to be posed. I tried to pose mine just like the one in the Grandin Road picture. Now the trick to hot gluing skeleton bones back together is that you have to have a lot of patience. You have to pose the skeleton how you want him, put a gob of hot glue, and hold those bones in place until the hot glue is completely dry. If you have a free hand, you can use your hair dryer on the cold setting to help speed along the drying of the hot glue. Now, if the hot glue showing bothers you, go back and cover it up with some paint. I used the black paint that I used before, and it's really undetectable. It worked really well, and I'm calling it cartilage. Here's a look at how everything looks lit up at night. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and I am so excited to get this Halloween crafting season started. Click the link that I've provided for you right here if you want to see more Halloween crafting, and I'll see you next time. Bye!